Stephanie's like, I'm just going to take him to my mama. So he had been perfectly fine. You know, they had a great night. Pat said Larry actually said about 10 o'clock he was holding him and he fell asleep. They laid him down. When Pat has him, she sleeps on the couch and she has his little bassinet right next to her. She said about 1 o'clock he woke up. She said he had pooping. She cleaned him up, made him a bottle. She said, I made him 4 ounces, Nikki, and he drank 3.5. She said he was just happy, playing. She said usually he'd fall back asleep while taking the bottle, but he didn't, and he had on little green and white striped pajamas that had monkeys on the feet. She said he was trying to grab the monkeys on his feet. She said about 1:45, she told him, Doodlebug, you got to go to sleep. Nana's sleepy. And she said she laid him down, and he wiggled around for a couple minutes, and then he got quiet. She said at 2 o'clock, she heard, she jumped up and looked, and he did it again, and she couldn't get him awake. You know, he wouldn't respond, and she started screaming for Larry to call 911. And the 911 operator starts telling Pat how to tell Larry to do CPR. So Larry's administering CPR. Henry County police officer was the first on the scene, and he took over doing CPR on Micah. The paramedics got there, and they worked on him, and nothing. They took him to Henry. In the meantime, Larry called Tim and Stephanie and told them, you know, your baby stopped breathing. You need to get to the hospital. And Tim, you hold that. Tim, of course, they had Bailey and Tyler. They got them up and threw clothes on, jumped in the van, and he said he drove 100 miles an hour to get there. They get to Henry, and when they go in, the doctor was coming out, and this is kind of put together after the fact. The doctor was coming out to tell them that Michael was gone. A nurse laid her hands on it, and when she laid her hands on that baby, he started breathing again. And that right there, it's a miracle. So at that point in time, they prepped him to life flight him to Eggleston. Stephanie said it took about an hour to get him prepped, and Stephanie was able to fly with him. Tim and the kids and Pat and Larry went in the van, you know, behind them. And they get there. Tim said it was about 6 o'clock in the morning by the time, you know, he got there and everything. And at that point, they told them, you need to make a decision because his heart's going to stop beating again in the next 24 to 48 hours. And you've got to tell us, do you want us to do anything? And Stephanie told him, do whatever you have to do to save my baby. Tim called us and basically, you know, just, Nikki, you've got to pray. You know, you've got to pray for Micah. He's fighting for his life. We get to the hospital, and I will just tell y'all that I pray that nobody here ever has to witness what we've witnessed the last couple of days. This is Stephanie's dad, so he's been there the whole time. It was horrific. It was no good news. None. But Stephanie Richardson, I see her in a totally different light now. I always seen Stephanie as this, she's one tough girl, you know, and she loves her babies. I have seen a faith in her like I've never witnessed in my life. They would come in and tell her, you know, nothing good. All day Sunday there was nothing good. And she would tell all of us, my baby's going to make it. I know. My baby's a fighter and he's a miracle. And my God is healing my baby right now. She would lay over him and kiss him and just say, you know, rest, Micah. You just get stronger. You come back to your mommy. On Monday, Micah started breathing over the ventilator, which, you know, to us, we're like, that's great. But he was breathing too fast. It was almost like he was hyperventilating at that point. They gave him medicine to try and slow it down. It didn't work. Well, Stephanie's sister, Dawn, asked the doctors, you know, what if in 5 days he's still like this? And they said he won't be, because if he continues breathing like this, that's going to do more damage. So there's still absolutely no hope. And Stephanie would get really frustrated, and she was talking to Mandy. Mandy's, not, yes, you're Mandy, you're not Dawn, I'm straight. She